Your hands are shaking. Your heart is pounding. You haven't even said a word yet. You're standing in front of a room. 20 pairs of eyes are on you. And your body is reacting like you're about to die. That's strange, isn't it? Nobody in that room has a weapon. Nobody is going to hurt you. You're just supposed to give a presentation. But your nervous system doesn't know that. It's running a program that's millions of years old. And the real answer to why you feel this way is far stranger than nerves or shyness. Public speaking is consistently ranked as one of the most common fears in the modern world. Surveys have placed it above the fear of death itself. That sounds absurd on the surface. Death is permanent. A speech is 12 minutes. So why does your brain treat them as comparable threats? The answer starts long before microphones, long before stages. It starts on the open grasslands of East Africa, where your ancestors lived in small, tightly bonded groups. Picture a band of early humans, maybe 30 people, maybe 50. That was the entire world. There was no anonymity, no moving to a new city to start over. If you were cast out of that group, you didn't just lose friends. You lost protection from predators. You lost access to food sharing. You lost your chance to reproduce. Banishment was, in a very real sense, a death sentence. Researchers studying small-scale societies, including anthropologist Dunbar, have shown that human social groups throughout most of our evolutionary history rarely exceeded 150 individuals, a number now known as Dunbar's number. Within a group that small, reputation was everything. Every interaction was remembered. Every mistake was witnessed by people who would still be around tomorrow, and the day after, and for the rest of your life. So your brain evolved a very specific alarm system, not just a fear of danger, a fear of being seen badly by the group. This is where the strangeness deepens. Standing in front of a room and being watched by many people at once isn't just uncomfortable. To an ancient nervous system, it looks like exposure. It looks like vulnerability. Think about it. When are you most watched by a crowd in the natural world? When you are caught. When you are cornered. When every eye on you means every eye is a potential threat. Psychologist Paul Gilbert has researched what he calls the social threat system, a part of the brain's defense network that doesn't just respond to physical danger, but to social danger. Disapproval, rejection, being judged as inferior or weak in front of others. Gilbert's work suggests this system evolved because for early humans, social standing wasn't separate from survival, it was survival. Here's the twist most people never consider. Your fight or flight response doesn't distinguish between a lion and a judgmental audience. Both trigger the amygdala. Both flood your bloodstream with cortisol and adrenaline. Both prepare your body to run or to fight. But you can't run from a stage. You can't fight a room. So the energy has nowhere to go. It just sits there, as shaking hands and a racing heart. Why hasn't evolution caught up? Why does a brain built for 10,000 years ago still control a body standing at a podium today? Because evolution doesn't move fast enough to track lecture halls and Zoom calls. The hardware you're running on was built for survival in small bands, not for slideshows. Cultural change happens in years. Genetic change happens over tens of thousands of years. You are quite literally using Stone Age software to handle an information age problem. There's a study that makes this even clearer. In 1999, psychologist Mark Leary proposed what he called sociometer theory, the idea that self-esteem itself functions as an internal gauge, constantly monitoring how included or excluded you are from the group. When that gauge drops, even slightly, anxiety rises automatically, often before you're consciously aware of why. Standing up to speak puts that gauge directly on display. Every person in the audience becomes, in some deep evolutionary sense, a vote on whether you belong. This explains something else too. Why does the fear spike worse with strangers than with friends? Shouldn't familiar faces feel safer? Actually, no. And this is the counterintuitive part. Strangers represent unknown judgment. Your ancestors could read the mood of their own band. They knew who was an ally, who held a grudge, who could be trusted. A room of strangers offers no such data. Your brain fills that gap with worst-case assumptions, because in the ancestral environment, an unknown group was statistically more dangerous than a known one. So when your palms sweat before a job interview, before a class presentation, before a wedding toast, you're not malfunctioning. You're running an ancient survival circuit exactly as designed. The circuit just hasn't been told that getting laughed at during a quarterly report won't get you exiled from the tribe and left to predators. Now here's where it gets personal. Think about the last time you felt that fear. The tight chest, the dry mouth, the urge to either over-prepare obsessively or avoid the situation entirely. That wasn't weakness. That was 30,000 generations of human ancestors who survived, in part, because they cared deeply about how the group perceived them. You inherited that vigilance. It kept your great-great-great-grandparents alive long enough to have children. The cost of that gift is a racing heart before a presentation that, in truth, almost no one will remember in a year. Some researchers, like psychologist Thomas Pollitt, have studied how online social platforms tap into this exact same ancient circuitry. Likes, comments, and follower counts functioning as a modern proxy for tribal approval. The fear you feel walking on stage and the anxiety you feel waiting for someone to respond to a message you sent are neurologically closer cousins than you might think. Both are your social threat system asking the same ancient question. Does the group still want me here? Understanding this doesn't make the fear disappear instantly, but it does something else. It reframes the shaking hands. It reframes the racing heart. These aren't signs that you're failing. They're signs that an ancient, deeply social animal is standing in a room, doing something its ancestors would have found genuinely dangerous. So the next time you feel that fear before you speak, remember what's actually happening underneath it. Your hands are shaking. Your heart is pounding. And somewhere, deep beneath the modern moment, your ancestors are still watching the tribe, still asking if they belong.